Hello, this is Thomas Jackson. Before I start talking about translocation, I thought it would be important to essentially just look back briefly on a little bit about transpiration. So this process involves movement of water molecules and dissolved mineral ions upwards through the xylem vessels. It's passive and happens by root pressure, which there are different pieces of evidence towards, including vector cyanide, vector temperature, reactant availability, and finally gussination. The other different processes include transpiration pull and capillary action. Water can move through the plant by different pathways, which include the symplast pathway, vacuolar pathway, and the apoplast pathway, all of which have different positives and negatives, I guess, about each one, but not really going to go into that right now. Anyway, moving back onto this diagram, what you can see is a source cell, companion cell, sink cell, phloem, xylem, and sucrose. First of all, I'm going to explain the source cell. The source cell essentially produces sucrose and then loads it onto the phloem. These cells are usually photosynthetic, so what I mean by that is leaves, although they can also be root cells. Sink cells, they import carbohydrates as they essentially can't produce their own. Different sink cells might include that of a developing or growing fruit and even roots. And finally, companion cells. These, as you can see from the diagram, they sit between source cells and phloem, and sink cells and phloem. These provide ATP and nutrients, which allows the phloem to carry out different cellular functions. Now that that kind of stuff is out of the way, we'll start with step one, whereby source cells pump sucrose into phloem, just here. As a result of this, the concentration of sucrose in the phloem increases, therefore lowering the water potential gradient. Water will then enter the sieve tube by osmosis. Water may enter through the xylem, as shown in here, or other surrounding tissues. Turgor pressure will increase, which essentially means that there's more water in the same amount of space, and as a result, sucrose is essentially pushed into lower regions of pressure, as shown by this red arrow here. As sucrose continues to be pushed down the sieve tubes, it will come past sink cells. Cells will take up sucrose, which results in a lower concentration of sucrose in the phloem. Because of this lower concentration of sucrose, water flows out by osmosis and into regions of higher solute concentrations, as you can see just here. Finally, this loss of water decreases the pressure in phloem, which causes the fluid to be pulled from higher pressure regions of the phloem to lower. This is quite similar to transpiration stream, where water moves out of the leaves, which causes a transpiration pull, and so on and so forth.